Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1515, written by Glass Jailer. I breathed underwater twice without equipment. On 2 occasions I have breathed underwater with no mechanical assistance. I was about 11 when it first happened. I was swimming one afternoon in the diving well at my gym. The pool is about 14 feet deep, with a fairly small surface area. I've always been a strong and confident swimmer. I love to dive to the bottom of the pool and flip over, open my eyes, and look up at the surface. So I dive down, and sitting against the wall, I have the overwhelming urge to breathe in. I refuse this thought, disbelieving and scoffing at my brain's sheer strangeness. But the thought comes again, and it is utterly convincing. I can't explain why I decided to breathe in. I just know that I wouldn't ever choose to do that, but in this instance, I did. I took the most careful, mincing breath in. I could feel great pressure, but I breathed normally. It was air I breathed and not water. I took 4 full breaths while sitting at the bottom of the pool, and after each breath I became more horrified and agitated. My disbelief was outstanding. I kinda freaked and shot to the surface as quick as I could. After I rationalized a bit, I calmed down. My logical mind kept thinking that somehow I'd had a bubble of air caught in my face. For how else could I have breathed like that? But over the years of trying to make sense of it, 30 years old now, I recognize that air always finds its way to the surface expediently. It won't just catch around someone's face. I tried to do it again that day, diving, trying to replicate the experience. Got quite a bit of water up my nose before I gave up. It did happen a second time, same pool, 4 years later. I took 5 breaths. The same feeling of overwhelming confidence that it would be okay to breathe. Couldn't explain it for the second time either. Very strange. I don't know. No one has ever believed me, but I've only ever mentioned it to a select few. I still can't figure it out. Does anyone have any physics or logic thoughts on this? Has it happened to anyone else? Case file 1515. I breathed underwater twice without equipment. So is this quantum immortality? And you're moving through different timelines every time you breathe in, you're dying. But I don't think it can be that, because you remember each breath. You remember that and not dying. In quantum immortality, you remember dying, the actual process of termination. So in this case, somehow, maybe you have a genetic mutation that enables you to breathe underwater in limited circumstances. I mean, that's kind of cool. I even prefer that. X-Men style. You are aquatic. No, what's the superhero that can talk to aquatic animals? Aquaman. DC, I think, yeah. Actually, DC and... Wait, X-Men are in Marvels or DC? I'm actually not sure. I like them, but I don't know that detail. Case file number 1516, written by NedNederlanderr. Aliens, government cover-ups, or coincidence? Some friends and I were driving home after hanging out at a cabin for the day. We were driving into LA, so traffic was kind of bad as usual. We had 2 cars full of people, but we didn't bother trying to stay together on the road. The other car in front of us called us at one point and asked if we had hit the traffic yet. Luckily we hadn't, so we got off the next exit and took side streets. An hour later, we got home and checked up on the other car. They said that nothing had moved, all the cars were turned off. People were walking around the freeway like some kind of zombie movie. So they were already kind of freaked out. The helicopters and hordes of cop cars didn't ease their tension either. Back at the house, we were looking online to try to figure out what happened, but couldn't find anything. So we started joking about there being aliens and the government was trying to cover it all up. Eventually, we found a report on SigAlert, an official Californian Highway Patrol website, that a silver Honda Accord had stalled in the carpool lane right where traffic had stopped. We took a screenshot of it and sent it to the other car. 5 minutes later, we got a call from the other car. Did you see the report we sent you? Yeah, but did you just find that? Because traffic barely started moving a minute ago. But right after I read the report, we were in the carpool lane and it suddenly stopped. I looked up at a silver Honda Accord, stopped right in front of us. Then the guy got out and popped the hood and is currently trying to figure out why his car stalled. Case file 1516. Aliens, government cover-ups, or coincidence? Oh yes, so, when an official source, online or news or whatever, reports on an event or incident that didn't happen yet, they reported before it happened in real life. That'll give your mind something to work on. And there's a famous example of this that I can't utter on YouTube, but I'm sure those in the know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's weird. Because yeah, of course, there's a delay in news broadcasts, so they could report it way after it happens, but not before. There's no delay in real life as far as we're aware. So how do they know? Case file number 1517, written by Perry 1. Trapped in a time paradox at school. This happened a week ago. It was a normal day in school. It was the last hour and we were writing an exam. My friend sitting next to me asked for an answer on the exam. The teacher overheard it and told us not to talk with each other. He asked me a question. The teacher walks up to us and tells us not to talk. The teacher goes back. The exact same thing repeats over and over. It felt like an eternity. At first I was confused as to what was happening, but after a while I started freaking out. The only words I could utter out were held and what is happening? My friend kept saying the same phrase over and over. Calm down now. I was just staring at him and he started repeating this endlessly. This freaked me out even more. I just stood up, grabbed my bag and left the class, leaving everyone behind. I don't know how I'm supposed to describe this part of what happened. I only have a dizzy memory of it, but from the part of picking up my bag all the way to leaving the schoolhouse, it felt like it was happening thousands of times. It all felt like it just kept repeating. As I was walking to the train station to drive back home, these weird loops started to fade off. When I was finally at home, they had already stopped. I don't have any explanation for what or how this happened. My best guess would be some kind of derealization. When I told my friend about what had happened, he didn't seem to remember most of it. He told me I just left the room for no apparent reason. Case also file 1517. Trapped in a time paradox at school. I think this would make a great horror story. And just an experience in real life, as it actually happened. It's like the dark side of Inner Light from TNG, which is a common reoccurrence in my own reading of stories all over the place, especially lately. The idea of being in a time loop, or living a separate life, for years and years and years. In this case, it's even worse, because you're not living a life, you're just stuck in a repeating pattern that you can't escape from, until eventually you're let out. I suppose it could be some sort of twisted space-time portal, where you're not taken anywhere in space, you're taken multiple times, reoccurring within time. And I guess if a space-time portal is there in one moment, and then you're sent to the past, and you cross it intersecting again and again and again, maybe it's not even intentional. It's just the fact that you're repeating the same way you did things before, Groundhog Day, because you keep entering the portal that you don't even know is there. So I guess if you're stuck in a repeating pattern that won't end, try to do something different. Maybe you won't cross into that portal again. And now time for the poem of the day. In a land where the laughter flows free, there lived a frog named Mr. B. He wore a top hat, oh so grand, but his dance moves were quite unplanned. He'd hop and skip upon the ground, tripping over, tumbling around. With each leap, he'd croak and squawk, making all the other critters talk. But Mr. B he didn't mind, for he was one of a unique kind. In a world of serious toads, he brought joy down the roads. So if ever you're feeling glum, remember Mr. B and hum, for life's too short to take too seriously. Just dance like him, oh so deliriously. A hop and a skip in your step. You ever did that when you were a teenager or even a child? You'd just be walking down the road and suddenly start to hop and skip around. It's like the burst of energy and happiness and joy. There's no reason you can't do that as an adult. Go for it. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.